Welcome to the Wings Mobile Detailing Business and Automotive Podcast, the only podcast that will guide you on how to start and grow six-figure companies. As our team expand from one business location to worldwide domination, you will get step-by-step insights from a millennial franchisor and franchise owner with your host, Mezalira.
Hello, detailers. This is another podcast for all of you who is running the business in detailing and are a little bit skeptical with the winter. Perhaps this is your first winter that you're going through, or maybe it's your 10th winter. Today I decided to stop and share with you guys my idea of how to deal with winter, how to prepare your equipment when it's blistering cold outside. Obviously, there's a certain point that it gets below zero, below freezing temperatures, below 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius, that you cannot do detail at all, on the outside at least, or wash the exterior of a car using water, like your regular hose, because the moment you spray the car with water, it's going to freeze completely. But I'm focusing more on the equipment of your van, perhaps, how to maintain them, and stuff to avoid. Winter's coming, and let's say you do have a water tank in your work vehicle. That's tough. You know, if you carry water to the client's house and that's the only way that you do wash the outside of cars, and if you're in a cold place, then you may have a hard time. You maybe already know that. I am in Richmond, Virginia. We have Wings Mobile Detailing in other locations as well. A little bit colder up north Virginia. A little bit warmer down in Virginia Beach. And Richmond is midway. It's not too cold. It's not too hot in the winter. It does snow. It gets really cold. You know, freezes off all the steamers. Freezes the pressure washer. And we have had many problems before. It's like almost every winter I have to discard pressure washer because I let water freeze inside. And once you let the water freeze inside the pressure washer, you're done. That thing is done. I mean, it might work again for another week or 2 or 3, but it's going to start making those whining noises. It's going to break because once the water freezes inside the motor of the pressure washer, it expands and it breaks the interior parts because the water becomes solid inside and expands. And but the way for you to deal with that pressure washer is either you bring it inside if it's below freezing temperatures outside, if you realize it's going to be below freezing, or you put a heater inside of your van. An electric heater you can find on Amazon, or a gas heater, which I'm not supposed to recommend that because it can be a little bit hazardous, but if you put a gas heater inside your van, those little body heaters, those are the most famous ones. If you take care of it, it might last. It doesn't last much with me, so that's a problem that I have. But you can use that and buy those little propane tanks, but that's not going to last all night. So you might have to buy the actual huge propane tank and put inside a separate place inside your van. Make sure there's nothing inside that will make it blow up. And be careful. Leave the windows cracked down a little bit for the air to circulate inside, because otherwise, if you leave the propane and the heater on at night, the gas heater on at night inside your van, it will turn off because it's gonna lack oxygen if you don't leave any windows open. And why do I say using a heater and not just you can winter prep your pressure washer, but why am I saying use a heater for inside your van? Because inside your van, you're not just going to have the pressure washer there. You're going to have spray bottles that they will freeze. You may have steamer. You may have the wet vacuum and hoses from the tank, depending how your thing is. The hoses that are inside. And if you do maintain the van itself heated inside, you're going to have all of the equipments not warm, but at least not freezing cold. You're not gonna have it frozen. So you can either use an electric heater, get an extension cord, plug in your house. If you're more, a solopreneur guy, a solo detailer that you're only you and you don't necessarily have a big company, you can do that and put the cable inside of your home. But some people may not live in an apartment. Some people may not be able to connect that at the house. And a lot of problems we were having with the electric heaters because it would break the circuit, because that thing draws a lot of wattage, with a lot of power. So it would break the circuit during the night, and it would defeat its purpose, because then it would freeze again by morning. So I did use that propane heater before, but I was having problems because the one I bought was the MrBuddy heater. It's a red one from Amazon. You can connect a propane there. You have to buy a propane tank and a propane hose to connect in there, or you just buy the small propane tanks, the little tank, and you just screw that right there in there. You're gonna see that on Amazon, but the small tanks won't last for 3 hours if you leave it on, so it will freeze again once it's off at night. That's why I bought but the problem I was having with the MrBuddy heater is that I had at least 4 of them, and they all broke. I don't know why. I always try, it could be me, something that I wasn't doing right. But man, I mean, they are not cheap heaters, so they could not find a quality heater. So that can be a problem. I wish I had a solution on that heater. Maybe you guys can find a better one to make sure your car is warm. Some people came at me with the idea of leaving the car on all night and the heater on off the car itself. No, that's gonna break your pocket. Imagine wasting gas, and it's not good for the engine of your car. You don't want to do that. Find different ways. Now, with as you guys know, the pressure washer, cannot let it freeze. The steamer, if you do let it freeze, just be prepared that they are not gonna last. If you let it freeze once. Especially if you let it freeze and then you run it while there's still frozen water inside. You can, though, winterize your pressure washer if you buy those products off the Amazon. It's called Pump Saver if you type on Amazon, or Pump Protector. And you make sure you get all the water off. That's going to be a little bit inconvenient. Why? Because you're going to have to do that if you're detailing in the winter every day. You're going to have to do it every day, to winterize it for the night so it doesn't freeze at night. But some people may not even use a pressure washer on places that are really cold for detailing with water, so you might just do it once throughout the entire winter, and that will do, but make sure it's winterized. You just put the product inside and leave it there. Now if you do have to do it every single day because you're using, and some nights it gets below 0, other nights you're not in a place that's really, really cold, but then it sucks because then you're gonna have to use the product every single day. Now, and then if you do not warm up your entire van, if you're on a mobile detailing company, well, then you might be able to save your pressure washer. But then how about all the products that are gonna be frozen? You wake up in the morning, you have frozen wax, frozen everything. So that is something that is a little bit annoying. So it's always, I wish there was a magical answer. When I was starting off detailing many years ago, I was always looking for a magical answer that I could, do and get rid of the winter. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, winter is a little bit annoying for detailers. Fortunately, I don't live in a place that gets too cold, like it gets below 0 in a matter of a week here in Richmond or more, but it warms up one day and then gets cold the other day, and it's not too bad. But if you're up north, if you're in Boston, for example, it's a little bit more complicated. If you're in Florida, you're good. Don't even listen to this podcast. You probably won't need. What I've done before at the beginning, but I don't quite do that anymore here at Wings, is still, even the products would sometimes really get cold, and in the morning when we are at the client's house, we had the bucket with a water heater. It's a bucket heater, and we put the products inside, so by the time we were using it, but that's also really annoying. It's inconvenient to put the products there. And but let's start with tips now, guys. The tip number 1 I already gave you at the beginning of the podcast is to warm up the entire van. Keep it warm. when you know the nights that are going to be below freezing. And that does work. Electric heater you put inside the van, you get kind of a strong electric heater, because if it's really far down below negative degrees, or if you're looking at Celsius, if it's really below freezing, then you're gonna need a really strong heater connect to the power of your house, and know that be aware of the outlet you have, if there's gonna be able to handle that without dropping the circuit. And bam, you got it. Leave the window. You can even leave the window up. That's fine. But if you're doing a gas heater inside your van, you're probably gonna need the big propane tank connected to the MrBuddy heater or whatever type of gas heater. You don't need anything much stronger than that MrBuddy heater, unless you have a really big van. But even then, you can put on the max settings, and that will be able to keep the van warm. Depending on the temperature, I can't, if you're really cold, then you might even have a problem with that. And let it run. Put the windows down a little bit, because then the gas heater is gonna turn off, because it's actual control fire. So it's gonna go off if you don't have oxygen inside. Put the windows a little bit down, and that will keep the van warm a little bit. When you were doing the detail at the client's house there, or assuming you're a mobile detailer or whatever you are, even if you're not, and you still want to use water, use a pressure washer with the hose. Let's say by morning it's not freezing anymore and you're still able to use water. If it's not below freezing, if the temperature is, let's say, 5 Celsius or 38 Fahrenheit, then you're able to wash the car with water. It should be, especially if the sun's hitting it. Then you can, but the water's cold. You still want to use a bucket heater. You can find it off Amazon. Put a bucket heater there. So by the time you're vacuuming, perhaps you can leave the bucket heater. The water's going to really get warm inside the bucket. Use long gloves. I like to use long gloves still. And that will do the job. If, as I said, you are trying to wash the car with water when it's 31 Fahrenheit, 30 Fahrenheit, no sun, 29, 28 Fahrenheit, and there's no sun, just don't spray water on the car, because you're going to turn your car into an ice box. By the time you go to dry, personal experience, the water's going to freeze, the towel is going to stick to the car. It freezes right away, at that temperature. So you might have to go in the waterless solution if you really need to wash the car in the freezing cold. If you're not just doing the interior, you might need to go the waterless solution. There is a waterless products out there that you can put in a pump and go with spray on the car, but it has to be products that doesn't have much water mixture in them, because then you're going to spray the waterless solution in the car, and if it's only water-based mixture, the water's going to freeze still, so it defeats the purpose. So you can really make a really concentrate type of waterless product, but you're going to have to spend money with the waterless product, doing the waterless method. Now, if you ask about trying a thermal cover to cover up your products, your equipments, the freeze, the water hoses that's inside your material, that does not work. Because you might be able to maintain a little bit of warmer temperature inside, but we're talking here, temperatures of 23 degrees, even 23 degrees. If it's 23 Fahrenheit outside, you're still gonna have a lot of trouble maintaining it warm during the night, because it's still gonna freeze underneath the cover, the products, unfortunately. So guys, maintaining your entire van inside, or all of your materials warm at once with a heater perhaps, I see that as the best way, because you have to keep everything warm. It's not just the pressure washer that you need to keep it warm, because if that was it, you can just bring it indoors, bring inside your home, and you'll be good to go for the day. But you have products, hoses, other type of equipments that has water inside, perhaps a water extractor. You have there, And if you're using every day, and if you don't want to go through the trouble winterizing those, but you still have the products, you can bring the products inside. So if you're not doing that and you leave everything in a place where it's warm, that's the best way possible. That's better overall. That's the best thing you can do, because then everything would be temperature control, go off for your day. Washing the car for the next day, then when you're at the job, knowing how to do waterless detail. Sometimes that may be the only solution. There's a lot of products for waterless type of detail out there, and using water, it does not work. Using warm water to wash the car in the winter, that's still gonna freeze, because if there is warm water coming out of your tank and you spray in the car and the car is really cold, maybe the water is not too hot but a little bit warm, but by the time it hits the car is freezing cold. The water's gonna freeze still. It may be even worse, because warm when it deals with like really cold right away freezes. It's even worse. It becomes even worse. So that won't work either. So the waterless wash should be the ideal thing to go. Now, if it's the water bucket heater that I mentioned to you about, you can do that way using the waterless way, because then the water in the bucket will be warm, but then you have to dry it right away. So you don't want to leave water in the car for a long time, for like even more than a few seconds sometimes. But the water bucket heater I like to use for cities it doesn't get too cold. So it's not, let's say it's around freezing temperature, but the sun still hits the car and it's not free. You can still wash the car with water. But the water heater in the bucket is more for your hands to use with the wash mitt. One thing that I do, guys, quick tip here. We do have water tank inside our van. It's a small water tank with a pump coming from the tank itself. And we don't empty the water tank completely, because it doesn't get too cold here to the point where we cannot use it. We do use during the winter the water tank. So we're not going to be emptying it off and winterizing the pump itself every winter. What you can do is wrap. You can buy a little cover wrap, insulation foam, and you can wrap your tank so that at least if it's not too cold, at least you're gonna maintain a little bit warmer, at least your pump, so you don't damage your pump from like really freezing cold. That may help a little bit. And I even thought about wrapping the entire water tank with that, but that's still not gonna work, because the water's still gonna freeze inside, and it's too much work. And then at the end of the day, it's not gonna serve much of a purpose, because if you cannot use the water coming out from the tank anyways, why am I gonna worry about having good water inside? Now, one thing that works, guys, a magical solution that you can forget everything I said on this podcast, that's gonna solve all of your problems with winter. Every detailers, I'm sure you guys don't like winter because you always think about all these problems. Their clients' cancellation sometimes, because sometimes there are more clients than the summer. It's crazy how it works in detailing, but a solution, big solution to get everything, guys, magical formula right here. I wish I had it. Live somewhere else. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I had something at the end of the podcast, but I try to give you as much tips as I did. I tried everything before, and it comes down to this: keeping all the equipments warm. Don't let it freeze. Blanket won't help, or just keeping everything warm with a water heater, electric heater, and try to see, maybe you get a gas heater. So that way you don't have to have a plug near the van and run an extension cord. If you don't have a plug, for example, you can run the gas heater inside. Be very careful. Make sure there's no gas leaking inside your van so it doesn't blow up. Make sure you use the heater properly, and you might be lucky with one of those MrBuddy heaters from Amazon. Thank you so much, guys. Andre here with Wings Mobile Detailing. Please subscribe to this podcast. Go to my Instagram. You can find us at Wings Mobile Detailing on Instagram, Facebook, and message me there if you have any other questions. Any ideas or tips for me to do a podcast next that you guys would like to know? We're also on YouTube. You can watch our videos, Wings Mobile Detailing. You see our team there. You're going to see our events. You're going to see us detailing cars. We have some nice videos on YouTube. So please follow us and send us a message. Send me a message on Instagram and I'll see it, guys. I'll be the one seeing it. Thank you very much.